So statistical mechanics, what exactly it means, what is its importance and all is something which we are going to see very superficially today. And we are also going to look into some terms which are important to understand statistical mechanics in the future. So we are going to come across some terms like ensemble, phase space, and all those stuff. Okay. So you might have already a preliminary idea, but the thing is we are going to use them mathematically. And what do I exactly mean by statistics is something which is simple. We do use a probabilistic approach here. And if someone tells you that statistical mechanics is a special place of classical mechanics, that may not be okay. Classical mechanics and statistical mechanics have its own space, but then statistical mechanics explains its stuffs more of in a distribution point of view. Like let's say, for example, you must have heard about Bose-Einstein statistics, Maxwell-Boltzmann statistics, and so on. So all those actually comes under statistical mechanics, and you use statistical mechanics down the line for a lot of subjects. You use it in nuclear physics, you use it in mathematical physics. Already you are doing a lot of statistical mechanics in mathematical physics, and then you use that in even in classical mechanics also. Okay. Quantum mechanics also it has got some application. So that basically forms a mathematical background. Okay. And statistics in general, what do I mean by statistics is that whenever we have a very large number of data, we actually want to analyze that. Okay? And that comes under the purview of statistics. So we'll start with this. Okay. And in the unit 2, the topic that we are actually going to talk about is something which is classical statistical mechanics. Okay. So what do I mean by classical statistical mechanics is that whenever we basically have a uh, let's say an approach which is classical in nature. So that means if this classical statistical mechanics can be related with more or less classical mechanics. Okay, so that is there. And when we talk about connection between entropy and probability, we are actually going into the classical picture. And then as soon as we go for probability, we are going into the quantum mechanical picture. So we'll have a smooth transition from classical to quantum picture. And then we are going to look into some distribution, Maxwell-Boltzmann statistics. And then we are also going to look into the case of an ideal gas. If you remember, PV is equal to RT. Okay. And we are going to look how can the classical approach be. Okay. And based on this, we actually have a theorem which is called the equipartition theorem. So these are the things that we are going to learn in the next few weeks of classical statistical mechanics lecture. Okay. So today is the first lecture. So we will actually cover only this part. Okay. The classical statistical mechanics. So just going to develop some idea, some approach. So whatever term we are going to learn here, we are going to use in next unit also, okay? Because in the next unit we do have something like microcanonical, grand canonical ensemble and so on. Okay, so those things does need some technical idea, and this will form a good technical base. So even if we don't have much knowledge about statistical mechanics, we can always begin here. Okay, and whatever you're doing in your unit 1, whatever ma'am is doing, those are also an important part. Okay, the understanding of the thermodynamics nature of statistical mechanics. So before we start, we'll just try to note down some points which actually may be important. Okay. So the first is okay. So because of there is a bit of power cut issue. So I'm just doing it from my mobile. So the text might be a bit small again. Okay, but then I'll make sure that the other texts are larger enough. Okay. So I just read through and then you just listen to it very carefully. Okay? So equilibrium statistical mechanics is well studied. Okay, so what do I mean by this particular sentence? So see, this is the first lecture on statistical mechanics, so I have to give you a lot of background, very important. So there can be two kinds of system. One can be an equilibrium system. One can be a non-equilibrium system. So what do I mean by equilibrium system? So see, if you have, because we are studying classical mechanics, so I think equilibrium system is more or less known to you. Okay. So over a large period of time, okay, we'll just change our approach a bit in statistical mechanics. So don't get confused. More or less, we arrive at the same thing. So if we consider for a very large period of time, if you are considering a very short interval of time, that system might not be in equilibrium, okay, because there will be some kind of chaos which might set in. But if you basically consider a very large period of time, eventually you will see that it will be actually an equilibrium state. Okay? There won't be much changes. A lot of parameters of the system will remain conserved. And that is what is equilibrium statistical mechanics is all about. So we are going to study these kind of systems. So we are not going to complicate things. So what we usually do, whatever we are going to do in this courses, we are going to consider a system. Okay, let's say I'll give you an example. Let's say this is a closed room and filled of gas. Okay, closed room full of gases, and that particular room, if it is kept in that particular condition for a very long period of time, eventually it will achieve statistical equilibrium. Okay, but then you might say, how can that be possible? Well, this is actually an ideal case. It might not happen, because what we do is we basically consider an closed isolated system. All of us know about the term isolated. Okay, so if we say isolated, it means that there is no energy or no matter which will be exchanged with the surroundings. So this if you consider a room, that will be completely shielded. Okay, there is no exchange or interaction with the outside atmosphere, and this is exactly what happens in case of an idealized system. But that actually might not happen. Okay, but then if you want to study a system, you have to first study what happens in an ideal case, and then only you can put in more and more parameters and try to complicate things and try to understand what happens in the real world. So this is what is research is all about. So since you are not doing research, you are basically starting with your MSc course. When you go into research, you'll see that if you're working on classical or statistical mechanics, most of the research work is based on theoretical ideas. So if you do that, you will see that these things becomes more and more complicated. So because you are going towards more and more real life picture. Okay. So a very important point to note, as I've said at the very beginning, that it's a special case. It's not a special case. Sorry, it's not a special case of classical mechanics. Okay. So it's totally different. We do analyze a lot of additional features here. So this is a potato, looks like a potato, but not a potato. This is a closed system. Okay, I'll assume that this is a closed system. It doesn't interact with the outside atmosphere. Okay, there is no interaction here. There is no interaction. So it is completely isolated. It has got energy of its own, and it does not exchange any matter with the surrounding. So that is important. So the question is, what is going on inside? What's going on? Okay, how are the, if we say it's a gaseous system, how are the atoms behaving? Okay, how are they colliding? Okay, what is the total energy? Okay, what is the total volume? Okay, so what is the volume to mass ratio and so on? So you can actually do all these analysis, and these can be actually done using statistical mechanics. So what is going on inside this isolated system is what we study in statistical mechanics. Okay. Mind you, whatever I'm discussing is a part of your syllabus. So even if you understand it like a story, write in your exam if I'm asking you a question which might be dealing with the very basic of statistical mechanics. Okay. So eventually in classical mechanics, we are also going to look into Hamiltonian. We have seen Lagrangian, and in Lagrangian, we saw that this is nothing but a function of the generalized uh, position, generalized velocity and time. But when we talk about Hamiltonian, we say that it's a function of generalized position and generalized momentum. Okay, so these two factors comes into the picture, and this will actually form the total energy. So we will go further into classical mechanics. So see, classical mechanics has its application here, okay, but somehow everything is going parallel, so it sometimes becomes a bit difficult to actually go one by one. So in general, classical mechanics says that the Hamiltonian is nothing but the kinetic energy plus potential energy. And if you consider any mechanical system, the kinetic energy plus potential energy gives you the total energy, right? Or we basically call it also the mechanical energy in some ways. So this is the total energy. So it just represented as the total energy. So if you consider that closed isolated system and we add up these energies, we get the total energy, which is important. But then, if you are inside the system, imagine you are inside this chamber, and if you are very small, okay, you are nano in size. Okay, I relate it with a movie. I don't know how many of you have watched the movie Ant-Man and the Wasp. Okay, but if you've seen that movie, okay, you see that what happens is that both the characters, okay, the main protagonist in the movie basically shrinks into a very small nano size and goes into the system, okay, to change things or develop things and all those things, stuffs, right? You watch that movie, it's very interesting, okay. But the thing is, they are into the system. So imagine you are that Ant-Man, okay, and then you are actually inside that, okay. And what you will see is that around you, everything will seem to be very chaotic. So if you are going into a gaseous system, you'll see that the gas molecules are moving here and there. And if you are light enough, they will hit you and move you around, okay, the gas molecules. So imagine it from the gas molecules point of view, okay. So this is what I mean by chaotic, okay. So chaos, study of chaos is also a science, okay. Actually, it is said that chaos has also got some kind of order in it, but we have to then study it and understand it. If you want to do that, you have to know statistical mechanics. Okay, so very important. So if we say that, and if we actually consider that enclosed system, the energy is specified. Okay, and if the energy is specified, it is basically considered as an energy shell. So I have a system within it, okay, and the maximum energy of any particular molecule or point, whatever you can say, will be E. It does not go beyond that, okay. So the energy, whatever it can have, is restricted. So that is important. So then actually, I think we have discussed some basic, and then what we can say is what is the fundamental postulate of equilibrium statistical mechanics. Okay, so as I said that we are going to study statistical mechanics based on an equilibrium system. So then I have to take the postulate. Okay, so you understand postulate, right? I think you have already studied about Bohr's postulate and so on. Okay, so these are nothing but the inference that you actually observe from an experiment. Okay, so you basically look into an experiment inference that you observe, and this postulate might not be sometimes experimentally proved also. Okay, this will be something like a theory which actually relates with the experiment, and we can say that okay, this exists. Okay, this happens. So it is basically the postulate of this equilibrium statistical mechanics is in a state of equilibrium. Okay, all the accessible microstates of the system are equally probable. So if you look into this, you see there are a lot of technical terms, okay, and then you get a bit confused. What is the first term? Thermal equilibrium. Okay? I think you know it, but still let's say that we are confused here, okay. Then there is one term, accessible microstate. First of all, what is microstate? And then the next question is what is accessible microstate? Okay, and then these are the two terms. If you understand, you know what is the postulate is all about. Okay, so if you consider something in thermal equilibrium, that means more or less there is no heat exchange, no energy exchange with the surroundings. So this is the exact system that I have shown you. Okay, the potato like figure that I have shown. My drawing is not that good, so sometimes you have to understand. Okay, okay, so that is important. So anyway, we have that as in thermal equilibrium, and we call it all the accessible microstate of the system are equilibrium probable. So we'll go back to the definition, and they'll come back to the statement and try to understand what this statement means. Okay? So accessible microstate. So whenever you consider anything, it might be a macrostate or a microstate. Okay, but before that, let's go into thermal equilibrium. Although you might have already a clear idea of this, but let's just analyze it or write it down in terms of statistical mechanics. Okay, so in when we say something is in thermal equilibrium, then what happens is the thermodynamic parameters, for example, the pressure, the volume, even the temperature, okay, these all are time independent. And it's not that they will become time independent all of a sudden. So you are waiting there for 10 minutes or 5 minutes or 10 seconds, and you imagine that the system will become thermal equilibrium. No, that's not possible, right? You take a glass of water, and if it's hot, you cannot imagine it to get cold within 5 minutes until and unless you stay in a place which is too cold, okay? The temperature is too low. It will come to the in the same temperature as your surrounding. For example, let's say you are staying in let's say Dimapur, okay. So today the temperature might be, let's say, around 25 or 26. You have a glass of water, it's warm hot, okay, it's very hot. Let's say it's around 60 or 70 degrees. Then it will take some time, and then it will come. So you need time, okay. It's time independent in the sense that when we are considering a longer duration of time. So when we go up to that time range, you see that eventually it will come at the same temperature. So then you can say that this system is in thermal equilibrium with the surrounding. Okay, that's important. So even if you're considering an enclosed system, all of a sudden you are making an enclosed system, that will take some time to actually be in thermal equilibrium. Okay. So whenever we say something is in thermal equilibrium, the average velocity is zero. So if you're considering the water molecules of a hot glass of water, they are actually why the water basically heats up is because the molecules are in high speed, right? They're in constant motion, dissipating energy, which is basically nothing but the heat that we're talking about, right? So when we have them settled, okay, and coming at room temperature, the average velocity of all these molecules will become zero. Mind the term average. It's not like one of the molecule you take and you expect its velocity to be zero. Not possible. Okay, it's a probabilistic idea, but the thing is, on an average, it will definitely be zero. So the average energy does not change with time. Okay, so that is the logic here. That is time independent. The average energy does not change with time, but then you have to give it sufficient time to settle it. So this is what is thermal equilibrium is all about, okay? But then this happens if the probability distribution of the variable is independent of time. So I think I've shown it to you, right? Here you see Hamiltonian is a function of generalized position and generalized momentum. But then I did not put time there. In Lagrangian it was qj dot and time, okay? Hamiltonian is also qp and time. But when we come into statistical mechanics, it is time independent. So I have not put time there. So it won't be a function of time. Okay. So the probability distribution of the variable is independent of time. So you have already started your quantum mechanics. You already had some basic idea about quantum mechanics, even in your degree also. They do teach you a bit of it. Okay, not much. But then when you do that, you know that whenever we say quantum mechanics, we are actually talking about probabilistic things. Okay, if you are finding out, let's say, the what is the probability that the wave will be in this location at this much at this time, okay, then you'll use Schrodinger's time dependent equation, else you'll use Schrodinger's time independent equation and predict the probability of the existence of the wave at a particular time in a particular position and so on. So if it is probabilistic, yes, there is quantum mechanics involved. Okay? But then this probability distribution of the variable is independent of time. Then comes a very important term which is called the microstate. So when you talk about this, I think this is something which all of us know. One is micro, one is macro. So something which you can look into without using any specialized device. Okay, in general, forget about the statistical mechanics idea. In general, let me tell you, whenever you look into some special, some you need device to look into the system. If you're looking into it without using any device, you're looking into the macro part of it. But you have a gas molecule, you're looking into the glass of water, it's nothing but a macro state. But if you go inside the water and try to look into the molecule and all, or the atoms, you are basically going to look into the micro state of the system. Okay. So microstate, we can say that it specifies the state of every constituent of the system. Okay. So if we say that we have a particle, okay, and there are 100 particles there, each of these particles will actually represent the microstate. For now, we can actually consider this, but let me tell you, this is not as simple. We are going to discuss the complications today itself. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example and I'm going to discuss that. So this actually specifies the state of every constituent of the system, and that is the generalized coordinate of each particle specifies its microstate. So you see, this is related. That is why in classical mechanics, the first unit has generalized coordinate idea, because that idea you are going to use in the second unit of classical mechanics also, and you are also using it in statistical mechanics. So I think it's very much relatable. And if I am teaching this subject, then I think it's logical, right? Because classical and then we are transforming to statistical. Okay? So we are having a basic idea now. So classical pictures will be there. Okay? So this is what is microstate is all about. So if we say the total momentum, now total is the important term here. The entire momentum of the system, say, is considered. We will basically call it the macro state. So this is called the macro state. So microstate and macro state is very important. Okay. So we know what is the micro state now. We understand that. And then the question is accessible microstate. Now imagine the energy is already given. Okay. It's E. So if you're considering a system, you are expecting that the energy of all the particles there will not have an energy larger than that of E. Right? So if you consider a system where the energy is within the specified limit, these are actually called the accessible microstate. The question is there any inaccessible microstate? The answer is yes, but the thing is we are not considering it here, because if we are considering an enclosed system, the energy within it is specified. If we are going outside the system, the energy might be different, but we are not considering them. So that is not inaccessible to us. Okay, that is inaccessible to us. So that means we are only talking about the accessible microsystem. Okay, so there are some dictionary meaning. Okay, some English words which are actually typical English letters. If you are confused, okay, because it might be possible, right? All of us might not be very much acquainted with all the words. So you can always look into the dictionary and you will see that the meaning more or less relates. Okay. There are some terms like microstate and macrostate in dictionary might be they say something else, but then you have to understand it from statistical point of view. Another term which is important is called the phase space. So when we talk about multi-dimensional space, so this actually sounds like a myth. Okay, sometimes people do say that we cannot talk about multi-dimensional space and all, because whenever we say talk about multi-dimensional space, we talk about string theory and all this stuff. I do have a course on your third semester also where I do talk, fourth semester, sorry, we do talk about a bit of string theory. So hopefully if I'm getting your classes in fourth sem, I will be talking about string theory also. That is very interesting. Okay? But then I know maths, physics and all is all about numerical and problems and derivations and all. But then if you understand the theory, other things becomes very interesting. So if we consider a phase space, we consider a multi-dimensional space, okay, in which each axis corresponds to one of the coordinates required to specify the state of a physical system. Okay, so if you basically have a physical system, want to specify the state of that, you consider one of the coordinates out of n number of coordinates. So if you have multi-dimensional space, that means you will have a lot of dimensions or a lot of parameters to talk about. Okay, lot of coordinates. But then let me tell you this, in statistical mechanics, we are assuming it's a multi-dimensional space. Okay, we are not really have any experimental verifications of that, but we assume it and we see a lot of things can be actually proved, and that's why it is taken. So we do take this as the part of phase space. So now let's get back to that definition. Okay. So now I think it will be more clear to you because you'll understand what does this definition means. So fundamental postulate of equilibrium statistical mechanics, right? So it says that in a state of thermal equilibrium, so we do have a thermal equilibrium system over the period of time, it has achieved a total equilibrium with the surrounding. Okay. All the accessible microstates, that means all the microstates which are accessible to you within a specified energy range. Okay, and microstate means, let's say, each of the individual molecules or particles or each of the individual configuration that you have within the system are equally probable. So that means if randomly, okay, this is statistics now, if randomly you pick up any microstate, okay, just imagine you're not really picking it up. Okay, if you're randomly picking up any of the microstate, it is probable that it will be any of it. Okay, suppose there are 10 microstates. If you pick up one, the probability will be 1 by 10. If there is another microstate B, the probability of that pickup is also 1 by 10. If there is another C, that will also be 1 by 10. So all probabilities will be 1 by 10, that is 0.1. Okay, so the probability will be more or less equal. Okay, so that is what is this statement is all about. So if in exam I ask you that state the fundamental postulate of equilibrium statistical mechanics, you will just write down this single line. And if I give you 2 marks, probably you should explain what is accessible microstate. And if I go for 3 marks, you should also explain what is thermal equilibrium. Okay. So as I said from the beginning that please try to do justice to the mark that has been provided, which is actually important. Okay. So that will be there. Okay. So if we consider something in phase space, okay. So because we've discussed phase space, it's basically you can say it's a multi-dimensional space. Okay. And then if you basically consider the phase space, we say this density with time will be actually nothing but the Poisson bracket of Hamiltonian and the density. So all of you remember Poisson bracket, okay? H rho minus rho H was there, but anyway, we will do it later also, and you will also actually this is a part more of quantum mechanics, okay? It is expected that you should know this because it's in quantum mechanics, but don't worry, I will try to explain it later also. But then this is something which is called the Liouville equation, okay, or Liouville theorem. I have to check the spelling. I'm not sure if it's correct. You can also check. Okay, so rho is the density. Okay? The rho is the density, and del rho del T is nothing but the Poisson bracket of H and rho. Okay? So this is important. And if basically we say that this density is independent of time, because we are saying it's a equilibrium system, we can this del rho del t will become 0. Okay, so first thing is we should know Liouville equation. This is your Liouville equation. Doesn't say it's 0. But then if we are going into this idea of statistical equilibrium, we say that this is independent of time, and then we can just put a 0 there. So if we just put a 0 there, this is del rho by del t, which is equal to h rho, which is equal to 0. So this is 0. That means this rho, which is the density, is a constant, right? This is something which you have seen in classical also classes. So rho would be constant.